Let me give you a quick view of what you're going to be seeing next. Let me start by saying it's a really, really pleasure to be here, particularly because this is the first time that we organize a session like that in Zeitgeist. However, year after year, we heard from many of you, when you come here, you would also like to hear a little bit more about Google and its products. And for that reason, we decided to include a bonus session in this year's program to give you a view, or actually a set of demos from several of our products. Because obviously, it's going to be about our products and some of the latest developments. It may not be relevant to all of you. So if anyone wants to have a longer lunch, more relaxing one, please feel free to go to the restaurant. If you stay here, what you're going to see in the next 30 to 40 minutes is some of the coolest, most exciting, and most innovative developments that we are currently working on, actually in 5 areas. You're going to hear from search, geo, our geo products, apps, YouTube, and mobile. To do that, we have 5 of our very young and very talented product managers that are going to be showing you a very large number of features and products. So hopefully, this is not going to be too overwhelming. It may also look a little bit disconnected, but I do encourage you guys to pay attention as much as you can and try to extract some of the essence that are behind these demos. And there are actually 3 themes that hopefully will come up pretty clearly. The first one, it's kind of a reflection of our development philosophy. Basically, launch fast and very early and iterate over time to make the product better. Second, work on really hard problems using technology to solve them. And third, putting the users first. The second theme is related to cloud computing. You're going to see several examples, even though it may not be explicit call out. I want to call your attention of how cloud computing making collaboration and online communication much, much easier. And in particularly, how it makes some of the applications that you're going to see, both on the desktop as well as on the mobile, possible. And some probably was very unthinkable just a few years back. And third, everything ties back to Google's overall mission, basically to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. With that, I'm going to turn over to our first demo.
OK, at least something's showing up here. So good afternoon, everyone. My name's Fiona. I'm an associate product manager working out of Google's Zurich office. So what Chris is going to show us at some point later this afternoon is the way that we can use many types of information and organize the results in a really useful and relevant way. So what I'm going to do is look at the specific example of how to organize geographic data. So I'm in charge of planning our sightseeing afternoon while we're in London. So I'm going to use maps to see how I can use that to explore the world and plan some travel. So you've probably all seen Google Maps before, but there's a lot of richness that's layered on top of these maps that make it really great for exploring the world. So today I want to show you some really interesting and, more importantly, useful features that make it really helpful for me when I'm planning travel or visiting a new city. So while we're in London, I want to be sure that I don't miss any of the key attractions. So the first thing I'm going to do is open up the Photos layer. Here we can see lots of photos that have been uploaded by Google users on their own visits to London. So these show pictures of the most popular sites. We can use these to get a sense of the area, really. I should mention that these are all publicly available geotagged photos, so they're not people's private photos of their dinner parties that they've uploaded to the web. So let's have a look at what's around here. What should we not miss in London? So we have the London Eye, Houses of Parliament, Westminster Abbey, and the Palace. Now, we definitely have to see the Palace. Now, you might have noticed when we were clicking through there that the titles are in lots of languages, well, several languages. That's because they've been uploaded by people all over the world. So we want to make sure we definitely see the Palace. So I'm going to close the photo layer a little bit so that we can see the map more clearly and zoom right in on the Palace. Here it is here. So maps can not only show me where exactly the Palace is, but also the best way to get there on public transportation. So it looks to me like St. James's Park here is the nearest tube stop. And if I click on it, we can see that the district and the circle lines go right through it. This is really great. It was right there without me having to do a separate search for directions. It was right at my fingertips. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a get off at St. James's Park, walk through the park here, and then come down through the Mall. Now, I've actually heard of the Mall before. My friend did the London Marathon a few weeks ago, and he said that this was the finish line for the race. So I assume it must be a pretty spectacular street if it's chosen for such a highly televised event. So Street View can give us a good sense of what the area looks like. So if we take this cute little orange flying Superman guy and drop him onto the street that we're interested in, we can get a really cool view of the street here. And if we spin around a bit, hopefully in the right direction, yep, you can see the palace in the background there. So these are images that are based on the images that are captured by Google Street View cars when they're driving around Britain's public roads. They're basically what anyone would see if they were walking down the street and taking photographs. So we can navigate through these photos with the white pancake that you see here. You see that it changes shape and it has a sense of perspective. It really understands what's in the photographs. Just as a side note, there was a lot of internal debate about what exactly we should call this thing. Some people thought we should give it a really fancy name like the perspective shifter, and other people just thought the icon would be better. But we all kept calling it the pancake, so we're going to stick with the pancake. So what we can do is we can take the pancake and use it to grab bits that we want to see more closely. So we can use it to double-click and keep progressing down the road as we're approaching the palace here. It's pretty cool. There we go. So we have a great view of the palace to finish up with there. So this has given us a good view of the front of the palace, but I have some questions about the palace that I can't really answer. So I've heard that the changing of the guard is kind of a big deal, but I'm not really sure what the guards look like and how many there are. And also, how grand is the palace? You can see the front, but it doesn't really give me a sense of scale. So what we can do here is we'll see this little photos link here. If we click on this, these are also user-added photos that give us a richness to the Street View pictures. They give us sort of a user-generated Street View of sorts. So if we just have a look and see what people have uploaded, we can see the palace from lots of different perspectives. There's some pretty neat photos here. And sometimes you get to see the palace through the eyes of a really talented photographer. I really like this picture, for example. But there's actually even more to it than this. Not only are the pictures geotagged to the right place so you can look at them this way, they're actually spliced together. So Google's figured out what's in the photos and how they relate to each other. So if you see these little silver balls here, the little orbs, we can use those to navigate through the photos and zoom in to ones that are more relevant to the question we're answering. So since there probably aren't Street View cars going right up to the guards areas, let's see if we can zoom in with this to see if we can find some guards. So if we zoom in a little further, oh, there's one down here. Let's zoom in and see what we get. And there we go. Great final shot. You can even see the texture of their hats. It's probably real fur. So we've been able to answer some of our questions about the palace, but we don't really know still just how grand it is. So for that, we're going to try something really different. So I'll close up the photos layer entirely and go back to the map. By clicking on the satellite link here, we can get a bird's eye view of the area, and we can see the palace here. We can see that the palace has a big courtyard in the middle that we wouldn't have seen from the front. So Street View wouldn't have captured that. It was just the front image. But this is still kind of a flat picture. It doesn't really give us a sense of scale. But Google Earth can help us with this one. So just a few weeks ago, we launched a plugin for Google Earth on Maps. This means that we can have the 3D experience right in the browser, right here. So I used to have to go and download Google Earth, open it up, re-navigate to where I was interested in, and then start exploring. But now, just by clicking a button and without leaving my browser or doing anything, I can have this incredible immersive 3D experience right here. So if we click on Earth, we get this. And I can zoom right into the inner courtyard here. You can see the real architecture of the building. It's pretty neat. There we go. Pretty good shot to finish up with there. OK, so with that, I'm going to close up. Thank you very much. I hope that I've shown you that Google Maps can be a little more useful than just looking up a restaurant or looking up your house on Street View. And all this information is right there at your fingertips. So hopefully, if all of us product managers are doing a good enough job, it's easy to find and fun to use. So with that, I'm going to hand over to Matt. Thanks very much.
Great. Well, thank you, Fiona. So I'm Matt, another product manager based here in Zurich and working on YouTube. I'd like to show you some of the awesome developments we've been working on YouTube and how we're really helping to capture and make available great information to the world. Fiona mentioned that we were planning a party tonight. And recently on YouTube, we've launched a feature which we call Disco. And this is the perfect feature to help us try and organize a set of great videos to entertain us. Whilst we can't quite pull off Cirque du Soleil, which I hope many of you enjoyed last night, we can certainly show you some great video content. So I'll show you now Disco. So basically, I just head to youtube.com/disco. And basically, we have now a big search box. And the team was talking earlier, and hopefully the guys will be able to show you, how we were collaborating with some of Google's great apps. We entered some different artists and some great kinds of videos and music we'd like to see. So one of the recommendations was Miley Cyrus, which I'd like to show you now. And party. OK, so we just type that into Disco, and straight away, we get a great video.
Get to the club in my taxi cab. Everybody's looking at me now.
OK, so I think that's just the kind of thing which will get the party going right way. And what we can see here as well is on the left-hand side, what YouTube's done is we've collected all the related videos together and automatically created a queue, a mix, if you like, of kind of related and great videos, which should be awesome for our party tonight. And what we can do is, while we're enjoying this video, we can go through this list and actually edit it a little bit. So for instance, here I can look down what's in there. OK, so other Miley Cyrus videos. I see a Winter Wonderland video. And whilst the sun wasn't exactly shining bright outside, I think Winter Wonderland isn't quite the mood I was looking for. So we can just get rid of that straight away. And basically, we can edit this dynamically. And of course, add some more content. So I know that many of the team are big Lady Gaga fans. So we can just quickly type in Lady Gaga and do a search. And while the video is still playing, we get our search results back and some suggestions of related content, which we can easily add into our queue here. So, oops, I did Lady rather than Lady Gaga. Sorry. That's the risk-taking aspect there for you, which I think these guys are struggling with over there as well. How many Google engineers does it take to? OK. Sorry about that one. So that's what we call Disco, which is still playing in the background. So I've just turned that off for you. Now, I'm really looking forward to our party tonight. We're going to hopefully, after these little trials, have a great time. But it does mean I'm going to miss out on a little bit of UK TV tonight. I'm based in Switzerland, so for me, it would be great to catch up on some of my favorite shows. But of course, I'll be out, so I won't be able to do that. But we're very excited that more and more content owners are choosing to upload their content and make it available on YouTube. And so I'd like to show you now what we call the shows page in the UK here. So this is available in the UK on any page just by clicking the TV shows link. And what this is the most recent and popular TV episodes available on YouTube in the UK. So we can see some great shows like League of Gentlemen, Skins, and all sorts of great content. I'm actually quite a keen cook. And one's caught my eye here, Heston's Feasts. So for instance, I could show you this. Yeah, I can show you a little clip from it, maybe. So here's Heston's Feast, and this is a full-length episode, basically just broadcast on TV. I know this is going out, well, not this episode, but tonight's one is going out today, and so we'll be able to catch up on this anytime. And I personally find that following along to TV recipes is pretty tricky. I'm a keen chef, but it's still no mean feat keeping up with someone like Heston Blumenthal. And my wife says as well that YouTube's awesome because it means that we're making all this great content available, and it makes it possible to bring Heston into the kitchen rather than my blowtorch into the TV room, which is a big win. OK. So that's really exciting. And one other feature I want to just describe to you a little bit is many of these videos, well, all of these TV shows have been uploaded by the rights holder on themselves, and many of the music videos as well by bands and labels. But we've also built a system which we call Content ID. And what that does is it takes all of the user-uploaded content and it automatically identifies what it is and applies the right policy that whoever owns the rights tells us to do. And this is really important for us, and we're very excited about this amazing technology and how it's being used. So one final thing I'd like to show you, after having teased you a little bit before lunch with some of these, well, I would have shown you more of the chef videos, And I know the chefs here are cooking up something great. But I would like to give you a taste of one more thing which we've been working on and really, really excited about on YouTube. And that's what we call YouTube EDU. I can show you that now. So YouTube EDU is a hub where many of the world's most prestigious academic institutions are choosing to upload their content and make it available to the world. I think this is truly amazing. And when you look at the names of all the different institutions uploading their content, it's really fabulous to think that this is available anywhere in the world, anytime. I'd like to show you one quick example, and that's of Professor Daniel Kahneman, who we're fortunate enough has joined us at this event. Thank you, sir. And who also gave an inspiring talk yesterday. And I'll just show you a quick clip of his video and some of the features which we've added to it. Okay, so this is his video here. So it's a full lecture.
It was stunning. Mia's study, well, I think in all 14 studies that he looked at.
And what we can do now is basically we can add in real time captions in English to his video. So the YouTube computers can go out and transcribe what Professor Kahneman was saying and automatically produce captions in English timed to go with the speech. So I can just show you that now by clicking this. Click the transcribe audio. It says it's an experimental service. So again, I'm innovating, taking a little bit of a risk. But we'll click OK. And there right now, boom, look. We've got captions automatically produced, automatically transcribed on the fly in the cloud of Professor Kahneman. Awesome technology. I mean, imagine how that can help either hard of hearing people or if you don't speak good English. I think it's truly amazing, and of course available around the world to anyone. It's fabulous. The combination of amazing computer science and, of course, incredible content. But we didn't stop there. What if you don't speak English? So we said, why don't we take those captions we've just produced and automatically translate them into any of the languages which Google Translate supports? So that's what we've done. And I just brought up here the dialogue showing you the different languages which we can translate these captions into. So it starts with Afrikaans, which is particularly dear to me, as just yesterday we were very pleased to launch our first localized YouTube version in an African country. So we launched in South Africa just yesterday, which is great. And here we can see a list of the various countries which we can translate those captions into. And I can just quickly show you the Japanese captions, for instance. There you go. Boom. So there we go. Right now, in real time, we're transcribing Professor Kahneman's speech. Thank you. Thank you very much. Transcribing the speech and then translating it into Japanese, making this great content available to the world. So with that, and hopefully, with that, I'm very excited to hand over to Chris, who's going to show you some of our great search work.
Thanks, Matt.
Chris.
Hey, guys. Let's try this one again. Great. Transcribing into Japanese real time is kind of a hard act to follow, but bear with me here. What I was trying to show you guys before is that, given how ignorant I am, I always forget what Zeitgeist means. And if I type it in, this is what pops up, right? And there's this overarching question at Google, which is, how can we get you the information you want faster, right? And what we realize is that sometimes you don't even have to do a full search. If we know what you're looking for, we can show it up here. So if I do a search for something like weather in London, I'm probably just looking for the forecast, right? And it gets me that information faster. Now, when I was preparing my trip to come here from Zurich, this came in really handy, because I could look up things like status of my flight. I don't trust volcanoes anymore either, so this is something that's tripped me up a lot. I also get the currency conversion always messes me up also, so the British pound's useful. I'm originally from America, but I live in Switzerland now, so I can convert into Swiss francs, and well, if I have to take a cab here from the airport, for example, I can figure out how much that's going to cost me in my currency. And it's immediate. Okay, this part's a little nerdy. If there are any nerds out there like me, you'll appreciate, hopefully. But louder? Ash cloud. Do you want me to calculate the size of the ash cloud for you? Ash cloud Heathrow. So here's the thing. We have smart engineers at Google. One of them realized that if you connect our search bar to calculator functions, you get some pretty interesting stuff. It happens real time, and it might just be one of the most powerful calculators in the world. I don't know if that means anything to you, but that's kind of scary to me. Anyway, so I was doing these different searches about London, and one thing led to another, and I eventually did a search for James Bond, being the American that I am. And I think it's a really, really great example of how our search results have evolved over time. To do justice to a query like this, you really have to mix different types of content. You have to put photos, you have to put video clips, you have to put book reviews, because that's the world of information about James Bond, right? We put all that here, we call it universal search, and we try to give you the best result. Now, if you know exactly what you're looking for, we have these categories on the left part of the screen, and the idea here is you can filter by types of content, right? If you're looking for video clips, you're looking for books, that's what's going to show up. And we'll show it in an interface that's good for that content, right? If you're looking for a book, you probably want to know the author, probably want to know, when it was published, how big it is, reviews of that book. And same thing for images, it's a different type of interface. So what's great is we've added filters within each of these content types as well, right? So let's see, what do I want really good images of? Something like, maybe something different, maybe an Aston Martin Vantage. So this is Bond's car in the last movie, right? It's a beautiful car. And you'll see over here, there are filters for size of photo, type of photo. I mean, you can even select the color, right? If I want to see yellow Aston Martins, I just click on that. Or white ones, or orange ones, which is pretty cool. There's a lot of crazy stuff that has to happen in the back for that to work. So let me go back to James Bond for a sec. So we've added ways to filter information. We've also added ways to visualize information. If I go over here and I click on timeline, what's going to show up is all the search results for James Bond on a timeline, right? The first movie came out in 1962, so that's the biggest peak on the graph. The novel started coming out in the early 50s. At first I wondered, what's all this stuff? If James Bond didn't exist, how are we getting results? Well, Ian Fleming did, right? And Ian Fleming was born in the early 1900s, so all this is about Fleming. And you can see here, starting in the 60s, every 2 to 3 years there's a new James Bond movie that came out. And they kept changing actors, and I can never keep it straight. Did Roger Moore come before Sean Connery or Timothy Dalton? Like, it's kind of a confusing thing. And I can look that up on Google, but it's a perfect search result, search query for a new product we have called Google Squared. I don't know if some of you have heard of 20% time. It's the idea that we give all engineers at Google 20% of their time to work on side projects that they feel passionate about. And Google Squared came out of that program, and I describe it as computer science magic, basically. I mean, I studied computer science, and I still don't know how our engineers pulled this off, because it's pretty crazy. So if I do a search for James Bond films, what happens is we go out and we query the web for all this information on James Bond films. And we show the terms that come up most frequently, which are the names of the movies, right? We then do a series of queries on top of that and try to figure out information about those terms. And they show up in this matrix. What's powerful about this is that it's not stored in a database somewhere. It's not static information that we're looking up. So if there's something that's missing, like the main actor, which was my question before, I can just type that in, and Google will go out and figure that out for me on the fly, right? Which is kind of cool. I also like looking up villains. It doesn't get all of them, but I think it's pretty cool that I can figure out the bad guys for most James Bond films. Let's see. I want to go back to, I started talking about Zeitgeist, right? And I think it's a really great name for this conference. At Google, we get billions of searches a day. And sometimes I stop and think, and it blows my mind to realize there's a person behind every one of those searches, right? There's a person searching for something. And when you have billions of those a day, you have a really good sense of what the zeitgeist is. So we have this product called Insights for Search, if I can type. And the idea behind Insights for Search is to give a window to everybody into what that zeitgeist is, right? We take all these search queries, we aggregate them, and we show you general trends. And they're really telling. So if I do a search for something like Valentine's Day, what shows up is a graph, and it's pretty much what you'd expect, right? Right around February 14th, there's a huge spike in search terms for Valentine's Day, because that's what people are thinking about, that's what they're talking about. Now, let me do a search for diamonds. This is where things get interesting, right? Okay, it's smaller spikes, but this might give you a little insight into what people are thinking about. You see this, the peak for diamond searches is soon before Valentine's Day, right? Maybe they're not talking about it, but it's something that they're thinking about. What you also notice is, right, since 2007, the amount of queries for diamonds has dropped off dramatically. So you can get a sense of, no, the financial crisis, it's a big deal, right? If you look here, we're kind of predicting what's going to happen next year, and it looks like I mean, if search can predict the future, hopefully it's going to be a better year, because it looks a little bit better than last year. But you know, we're still working on that part, predicting the future. Anyway, hopefully that gives you some insight into search. I'm not sure if Clay has been able to get the other computer to work or not. We're good? OK, fantastic. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Chris. I'm Clay Bavor. I'm a product manager based in our London office. And since everyone's here and from Zurich and other places, I thought, in particular after the failure over here, we're going to need a party tonight, relax after everything, I would actually organize a party. To do that, I'm going to use some of our communication and collaboration products, which we collectively call our apps products, to get everything together. And to start, I'm going to go to Gmail, which is of course, our email product, and it's got a lot of useful features like a whole bunch of storage space, so you never have to delete an email, and it's really fast. And the first thing you'll notice about my Gmail is that it probably doesn't look a lot like your Gmail if you've used it, and that's because I'm using what we call a Gmail theme. What Gmail themes do is completely change the look and feel of your Gmail interface, and actually, this one goes beyond and actually changes throughout the day according to the weather at my current location. So actually, living in London, I tend to see a lot of sort of clouds and partly clouds, and it's actually nice to see the sun here. My favorite is actually when it's snowing. There's a grandmother down here, and she's on a snowboard to sort of emphasize the point that it's snowing out. So first thing for this party tonight, we need to figure out what we're going to eat. And I like pizza. Everyone likes pizza. But in London, I don't actually know who makes great takeaway pizza. And so to get an idea for that, I'm going to ask some of my friends. And to do that, I'm going to use a product called Buzz, which is something we launched a couple months ago. And it makes it really easy to start and participate in conversations about things that you think are interesting, which in this case is what pizza should I eat tonight. So I'm going to go over to Buzz, and you can see my friends are sort of posting. There is Alan and Sharath actually at the conference on the big Motorola phone, something about Kindle for Android, posting about things they're interested in. And what I'm going to do is just ask my London friends, hey, Pizza Express, good? And one of the really nice things about Buzz is it has very fine-grained privacy controls over who you post to. And so actually, in this case, I don't want to post on my profile. I just want to sort of ask my London friends. So I've created a group of all of my friends who live in London. And I can just ask them, is Pizza Express any good? So I'm going to post that. And while I'm waiting for a response to that, I'm actually going to get started with the sort of mechanics of planning the party, drinks and food and entertainment and so on. And to do that, I'm going to use Google Docs, which is our documents, spreadsheets, and presentations editor. So I'm going to click up here, and as they sort of say on the cooking shows, here's something I've prepared earlier, a sort of partly baked spreadsheet. And what you'll notice is that this is not your average spreadsheet. So I'm going to walk away from the computer, and you'll see that the two others in the upper right are actually collaborating on the spreadsheet at the same time I am. And you can just see updates as they come in real time. And that's because all of the data is stored in the cloud and synced between our browsers as they're making updates. You can see that even the little chart of number of guests updates in real time. And so gone are the days when you sort of have to email a spreadsheet back and forth, do version control, and manage all of that. It's just synced for you in the cloud. So let's see. I am a definite yes. And so all RSVP for me. The one thing that worries me here is this karaoke idea that Sharath has had. So I'm going to try and get in touch with him. And to do that, I'm just going to start an I am here. And let's see. And actually, I noticed that Sharath has this little green video camera in the upper left of his chat window, which means he's video chat enabled. So I can just, from Gmail, start a video chat right like this. And let's see if he picks up. Hey, oh, hello. I wanted to ask, do you actually have a karaoke machine?
Of course. So why do you think I put that in there?
I should have figured you with your gadgets, you would have a karaoke machine. I'm sorry, are you outside? Why are you outside?
Well, I wanted to be inside, but they just wouldn't let me in, so I just had to hang out here and enjoy the weather.
Okay. I guess our security is very good. So I'll see you later tonight. Bye. So what was so easy about it was a bit rude. I'll apologize after. So what was so easy about that was I didn't have to open another application. I didn't have any special hardware. I didn't have to install anything. Just right from within Gmail, I switched from email mode to doing video chat. So it's just seamless transitions between these different modes of communication. So I'm going to go back to my inbox, and actually it looks like while I was chatting with Sharath, Alan has responded to my buzz. And notice that it appears right in my inbox. I don't have to check something else. So let's see. They have great takeaway. So excellent. So it looks like we figured out. And they even have those plastic things that keep the lid off the pizza. Nothing worse than lid-flavored pizza. I agree with that. So, and you'll notice that that update came right in as we were actually just looking at the screen. I didn't have to check anything or do anything like that. So we've got our pizza figured out. That's terrific for tonight. The last thing, and this is very important, has anyone gone to a really great party and had maybe a few too many drinks and then sent an email that you kind of regretted the next morning? Because I have. And fortunately, we have a feature to prevent just that in what we call Gmail Labs. So Gmail Labs, you can get to it with this little green beaker in the upper right. Gmail Labs is a collection of about 50 different features and functions that our engineers have built in their 20% time. And the one that I'm going to enable for tonight is what we call mail goggles. So it's a play on beer goggles, if you've ever worn a pair of those. And the way it works is during hours where you might be having a few drinks, late Friday, late Saturday, in my case, late Tuesday, you can turn it on, and before you can send an email, Gmail will make you answer a very hard math problem. And depending on what your major was at university, you can dial up and down the hardness, so it is sort of commensurate with your math talents. So that's good and useful. And there are actually other, frankly, more serious features as well. My favorite we call Got the Wrong Bob. And the idea here is, based on who you typically email as a group, Gmail will watch. And if you're accidentally emailing your boss, Bob, instead of your friend, Bob, to invite him to the great party, it will say, got the wrong Bob? So that's got the wrong Bob. So I'm going to enable mail goggles for tonight. I'm planning on having a very good time. We've got our pizza figured out. We've got everything else figured out. And Matt had the music. We've got the Miley Cyrus playlist, which I am really looking forward to that. And with that, I think I'll turn it over to Hugo. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks, Clay, and hi, everyone. My name is Hugo Barra, and I'm part of the Google Mobile product team. In the next couple of minutes, I wanted to walk you through a couple of examples of how mobile applications can really take advantage of the amazing power of cloud computing, which Nelson mentioned during his introduction. And to do that, I wanted to share a quick story with you. Recently, my wife and I took a trip to Paris, and I just wanted to show exactly how some of Google's mobile products helped us not only get around the city, but also really enjoy our time there. One of the first things that we did when we got there on Saturday morning was we wanted to find a place to have a nice breakfast. So that's what we did. And these mobile phones are fantastic, but sometimes it's a little bit hard to type into them. So it's so much easier if I can simply speak my question. Like this, if we could switch over to the projector. There we go. So, what's the best croissant in Paris? And there you go. So what happened here is the audio of my voice was sent in real time as I was speaking to one of our data centers where literally thousands of CPUs processed it and all voted together to come up with a single answer. And all of that happened, as you saw, in a small fraction of a second. So looking over at the results here, and I'll zoom in further so you can see this best. Looks like there's actually quite a bit written about croissants in Paris. I'll click on this result here, and we'll see it come up. there's quite a bit of useful info in here. Someone who really took their time to write about croissants in Paris. And there's actually a map, which hopefully will come up in a second. There it is. And it showed where some of these places were, and they were two that were right near our hotel in Rivoli, so that actually worked out pretty well for us. So we finished our breakfast, and we left to go to the Louvre. And on the way, I had to text my friend who was in town and who was going to meet up with us a little bit later. So I'll create a text message here to my friend. Now, notice one interesting thing. So as the keyboard came up, notice that we've added a little microphone button right at the bottom here, and that allows me to basically speak whatever I want. So watch what happens when I press that button. Let's meet up at 3 o'clock at the bottom of the Eiffel Tower. See how fast that was? Pretty cool, right? Needless to say, that's much faster than typing. If we could switch over to the presentation, please. Another product that I really enjoy, thank you, is a product called Google Goggles, differently from Mayo Goggles. We call it a visual search application because it allows you to search not by typing or even speaking, but by taking a picture. So let's go back to our weekend, and I'll show you an example. So we're at the Louvre, and we walk into a room with this huge painting right in the center, beautiful painting, which I didn't recognize. But there were quite a few people looking at it, so I thought it must be something important. My wife at this point was a little behind. She was looking at some other work of art. So while she wasn't looking, I took a picture of this beautiful painting with goggles on my Android phone. If we could switch back to the projector, please. And there you go. So you can tell right away that Goggles recognizes this as art. It even tells me it is the Raft of the Medusa by Géricault. And it gives me search results for this visual query, including, as you can see, a link to the Wikipedia page, which I clicked on. And here I learned about the artist. I learned about more details about that particular painting, the history, etc. There's the Wikipedia page. So, of course, my wife approaches again, and I quickly put the phone away. And as she gets close to me, I say, "Baby, this is truly amazing stuff, isn't it? What a beautiful work of art." She looks at me puzzled and says, "Honey, since when do you appreciate art? I bet you don't even know what painting this is." I kept my cool and I said, "Well, actually I do. This is the Raft of the Medusa by Géricault, one of the first major French romantic paintings." It was a real breakaway from the traditional neoclassic school at the time. It was a major milestone in the history of French art. She smiled, of course, looked at me. She was a little suspicious, but nonetheless quite impressed. Well, it didn't end there. Later that evening, we were at dinner, and I had another chance to show off or continue to show off my fountain of knowledge of French culture and language. We were at this really nice French restaurant, and right as we got there, she went to the bathroom. We'd been walking around all day, so I sat down by myself and opened the menu, and it was all in French. So guess what I did? In fact, the menu is right here. Well, I took a picture of it with Goggles. Let me show you what happens if we could switch the projector again. So this is basically a paper copy of the same menu that you just saw. So say I want to know what this thing here is, a carré d'agneau. I actually don't have a clue. That doesn't sound like anything in English. So what I did is with Goggles, once again, I took a picture of just that dish on the menu. Let me do that. And so here's what came back. So it recognizes the text in French. It knows that that text is in foreign language, so it gives me a translate button. So I'll hit translate, and I'll zoom in so that you can see this well. So turns out this is a roast rack of lamb with lamb and thyme, grilled vegetables, and funny, the juices have tapenade. That sounds kind of funny. So anyways, I looked at a few more dishes, and then a few minutes later, my wife came back, she sat down. She was clearly very hungry, looked at the menu and said, the menu is in French. Can't understand a thing. I wonder if they have an English menu that we could look at. I sort of ignored that and pretended I wasn't paying attention, looked up and said, oh, honey, I was just looking at the menu and I was thinking, you might really like the roast rack of lamb with lemon thyme and grilled vegetables. And I was thinking maybe I'll get the sea bass with passion fruit sauce and we could share. The look on her face was obviously very priceless. We had a great dinner and a really good night. The next day, we walk around Paris a bunch. We we go to a bunch of places which we recognize and learn about using goggles once again by just taking a picture. And we do a lot of shopping. In fact, we run out of cash from our shopping. So on the way back to the airport, which we were late, by the way, we had to figure out how to tell our driver that we needed to stop by a cash machine so we could pay him. Luckily, I had this application called Translate, similar to what you just saw, installed on my Nexus One. And watch what I did. So similar to before, I have a microphone button here, which I can just hit and say, could we please go to the airport? We need to get some cash on the way. So similar to what happened before, you'll see it's going to recognize what I said, translate it to French, or close enough. And the most... some merchandise here. This is a paid placement. And the most amazing thing is that I can actually have it speak back the text to me. So notice there's a speaker button here. I'm going to press that and listen to it.
L'initialer à l'aéroport, nous avons besoin pour obtenir des contenus sur le chemin.
So how cool is that? So this is like having the Star Trek universal translator built right into my phone. And obviously, we can go further than that. Picture this phone that can sit in between two people having a conversation in a different language and instantly and fluidly understanding each other because their conversation is being instantly translated. We happen to be working on that next generation. So that's what I wanted to share with you. I hope that you get to try these applications, and I hope that you enjoy using them as much as we enjoyed building them. So thank you very much, and over to Nelson.
All right, that's it, guys. I hope you had enjoyed. I want to thank you, all our demos again. Chris, Fiona, Matt, Clay, and Hugo for the nice demos. And I also want to thank you all for participating to our session today. Before I let you go to lunch, I have two treats that I want to give it to you. First, to help you remember some of the things that you have seen in the demos today, we have prepared a special 10 top list of how to use the Google products. I have a few here, but they are also going to be available throughout the breaks in the afternoon, so feel free to collect them. Second, and most importantly, as I was watching Hugo demo the mobile applications, I could see some of you getting really excited about his showing off the Nexus One. And I could also see some faces that you guys would really wish to have one. So I have some good news. They're going to be available to each every one of you. Later this afternoon, you can pick up your Nexus One at the reception before you leave the event. Yeah.